Thank you. Mike, would you take roll, please?
Sure.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Chairperson Fox.
Here.
Murphy. Tom
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Sue Grissom.
Here.
Mike Mitchell here. Joe Kalani, absent. Keith Voigt and Jeff Newsom, absent.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, item 4, approval of our meeting agenda.
So moved.
Support?
We have a motion from Commissioner Grissom, second from Commissioner Mitchell. Are any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, item 5, approval of our Planning Commission meeting minutes from June 13, 2019.
Move to approve the meeting minutes of the June 13th, 2019 meeting.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Mitchell, second from Commissioner Murphy. Are there any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 6, call to the public. Anyone? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7A. This is site plan application number 19-006 for Heartland Meadows. Are you here with are you the applicant? I am. Yeah, all right. If you'd like to come forward, have a seat. Yep, right there would be great. What we're going to do is let our planning director, Troy, introduce your project, and then we'll turn the floor over to you, and you can add anything you'd like to add.
Thank you.
Okay, Troy, it's up to you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me start off with I'm going to use Google Maps here. This is an aerial of Heartland Township. This would be 23 going north and south. This is M59 kind of going down the center. This is the Heartland Meadows residential community just to the east of Pleasant Valley. And their main entrance comes from M59 and extends south, kind of curves in. And then I'll call it their office area is, I'm going to zoom in on this area right here. And this is the general area that I'll show you a site plan of what we're proposing, but this is the general area that we're going to be looking at is their center near their office area. So this is that site plan. You can see the main road coming in, their office building, and then what they're proposing to do is to have a pavilion that would be in this location here. And what you can also see is there's a soccer field that's shown here. So this would partially be on the soccer field, but just so you know, I'll go back to Google. There's no designated soccer field out there that you would see. It's a big grass area that could be used for a lot of different sports, but on the approved plan, just so you know, this is when I say approved plan, this is not a plan that was approved by the township. This is a plan that was approved by the state of Michigan as part of their permit to operate the mobile home community out here. This particular project was approved through what they call a consent judgment. And as part of that, basically the two parties that were involved in this project agreed, and that was signed by a judge, to allow this project per the requirements of that consent judgment. And in that consent judgment, there's some recreation facilities that they're required to have as part of that agreement. And then separate from that consent judgment, the state of Michigan is not bound by that consent judgment. Then the state of Michigan approved a permit. And this plan is the plan that the state of Michigan approved. One of those requirements was to have a soccer field here, and now they want to put a pavilion up. So we had discussions with them about, well, what should be the process with a consent judgment? Do we need to go back to court to amend that? Could we do it administratively? There is no true process outlined for how to go about allowing them to do what they want. It was thought this is probably the best process. They come here, it's a public meeting, they're in front of you to request to put up a pavilion, and that way at least there's some, it's not done by staff behind the scenes, so to speak. So it was open, it's in the public view. This is the pavilion. This is kind of a representation of what that pavilion would be made out of. It has a concrete foundation. There's posts that would come up from that. It's kind of got a steel structure to it. Well, that's a consent judgment. Their pavilion would be a little bit bigger than this. I think it has 6 support posts to it. And that's what they're proposing, is a pavilion to serve their residents out there. There's no true process for them to go through. It was viewed as this would probably be the best process, have it come to the Planning Commission like a site plan would, have the Planning Commission review it. Unfortunately, there's no set standards like your normal site plans that you would see, so the report isn't as detailed as you would see. That's the location of it, and that's why it's here. If that all makes sense.
It does. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to introduce yourself
My
and then
name-
anything you'd like to add.
Yes, my name is Jerome Ruggiero, and I want to thank you for allowing me to appear before you this evening. Mr. Langer did a wonderful job of presenting the facts and the situation and the process. I agree with just about everything he said. One thing that I would respectfully disagree with is that the state of Michigan does not get involved in approving recreation facilities for a manufactured home community. What was submitted to the state of Michigan was a drawing that looked very much like the one that was on there, but it did have notations that said future design to be determined. They don't require us to put down recreation facilities on a site plan when they approve our plans. So that portion of it is really what the state does is they have setback requirements that you can't have a structure within so many feet of a home, but they don't get involved in the design or the type of recreation facilities that go into a manufactured home community. Other than that, I think that his description of this scenario was spot on.
Perfect. That'll work.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply the state approved the soccer field. It's just that this is the plan that is part of their approved set is what I was trying to indicate.
Okay.
The soccer field requirement comes from the consent judgment between the township and the Heartland Meadows. So
Okay.
if I said anything that indicated that the state has approved this, that was misstatement on my part. It's just, this is the plan that the state approved, which shows this soccer field that you see on that screen there,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, we have a very short staff letter. Let's take a look at it, and then we'll ask any questions. It's dated June 20, 2019, and I am on packet page number 4. Down about a third of the way, you see site plan review, site standards. So I assume we're pulling these out of accessory structures.
Yep.
So we're going to comply on a building height of 15 feet. We are looking at setback requirements from principal buildings required of 10 feet. You're 72, so you meet that requirement. Location not be permitted in the front yard, since it's in the rear yard of the clubhouse office facility. That would also meet those requirements. There are no comments from any of our reviewing agencies, fire marshal, engineer, anybody, nothing required. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Just to clarify, you asked if these standards were coming from our accessory structures. This is coming from our mobile home zoning
Okay.
category.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions for him, comments? So
So I have just
Yeah.
one question. and this is not totally clear to me. So by the consent agreement, there were to be 2 play areas in the mobile home park? Is that
I'm sorry,
correct?
could you please repeat that? I didn't hear.
I said, according to the consent agreement, it indicates that there are to be 2 play areas in the mobile home park.
2 areas?
Is
Two
that-
2 recreation areas?
Yes. Is that correct? And is that what has been agreed upon? I'm having some confusion as to the consent agreement and the approval from the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
The state of Michigan, from what you have indicated, basically just rubber stamps what the consent agreement stated. Is that correct?
The state does?
Yes.
Yeah, the state really confines their review to infrastructure, roadways, setbacks, property line, boundary setbacks, construction materials, and so forth. They don't get, and there is a minimum open space requirement that the state requires, which this project far exceeds. I could not quote you what that is in terms of square feet, but I can tell you that this project, we far exceed the open space requirement by that is set forth by the state. The state also has requirements for parking areas, which are exceeded. Most of the things that were negotiated on behalf of the township in this consent judgment were far more onerous than what the state minimum requirements are for a manufactured home community.
Okay, so in a nutshell, on this site plan, is there 1 or are there 2 play areas?
Well, there's a large area of land devoted to recreation. So we have play areas that are geared towards, separate play areas within that are geared towards different age groups of children. We had, as I explained to Mr. Langer on the telephone in a conversation, at one time, we had soccer nets up on the property, and they simply just weren't being used. What they were being used for was a jungle gym. Kids were climbing on them, and they weren't getting utilized. We're devoted to soccer if that's what our residents want. We're trying to respond to what will be used and what will be accommodating for the children and the teens in the community. We have a play structure that you can see that both of those side walkways lead to. And that is geared towards younger children. It's a swing set and so forth, that type of a play structure. So what we did for the teens, we were responsive to the residents, and what we heard from them is they wanted basketball and a place to do inline skating so that they stayed off of the sidewalks and off of our railings in our community building and so forth. So that's where the basketball, that's a bituminous surface basketball court there that they can use for inline skating. They put portable hockey nets up there and do inline hockey and play basketball there. So it's 2 play areas within one big recreational area. And quite frankly, there's room for more if the demand is there and the residents are really voicing what it is that they want. This site plan request this evening is in response to our residents. What we have various events throughout the year, and we rent very large tents and have resident appreciation days and picnics and so forth. What they enjoy those events so much that they would like to do them, have some on their own. And I understand the township's got a pavilion that they've got at the township land. They would like a place to gather, to barbecue, to hold outdoor birthday parties and so forth. And this request came in response to that. We researched a number of different things. This company came highly recommended. It's a very nice looking structure. It's a structure that we think will be relatively maintenance free. and it will serve the purpose of what it is that they're looking to do. So that's really the reason for it.
Okay, yeah, I have no objection to the pavilion. I was just curious about the description of the play areas.
The judgment is such that you can, as we talked about, you can never foresee the future and deal with every situation that's going to come up in a document. And it's rather general in certain things, and it's very specific in others. This particular part of the judgment is one that was rather general in that it says that an open play field of sufficient size to accommodate softball or soccer. So I think that in the spirit of that judgment, we're fulfilling that just based on the size that's being set aside. And if softball is the game, I mean, right now, nowadays it's lacrosse. And I don't think at the time that this was negotiated, anybody was playing lacrosse at that level. But whatever, we try to be responsive to the needs and the desires of the residents that are out there, so that, you know, the challenge today is keeping our kids active, keeping kids busy, and keeping them doing some recreational things.
I think just to clarify, the court settlement, it says 2 play areas. It doesn't tell you what a play area is. It further goes on to say at least 1 field, either for soccer or for softball, shall be. So what they have out here, and he's already, the applicant has pointed out, they've got a field here where they've done soccer. They've got this basketball court. They also have I'll call it a playground gym facility. So we're just pointing out that's what they've done. I don't think, from our standpoint, because of the vagueness of, well, what is a play area, I don't think they're in violation of that per se. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
If it said 2 fields, well, then that would be different. It doesn't say that. It says 2 play areas, and then it further goes on to describe 1 play field, or a soccer field or softball field. So, and he's right, it doesn't say how big that soccer field is.
Right.
It could be any size.
Yeah.
So what is the site plan you were going to show us, did you say?
Oh, that was I did show you.
Okay.
That's this right here.
This one,
This
okay.
is, this plan that you're looking at here is a copy of it, and it's not the whole plan, it's just a
Yeah.
portion of the plan that was ultimately, well, let me back up. With that consent judgment, there is no plan. So I'm left to, by default, kind of refer to, well, what did the state of Michigan approve? And the state of Michigan approved this plan that you see in front of you. So that's this plan.
Okay.
Did that
All
answer
righty.
your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure we had seen your previous comment. Any other questions? Anything else? I think you'll find a motion on packet page number 5, if you are so inclined.
Move to approve site plan application number 19-006, which is a request to construct a pavilion in the common area at Heartland Meadows, located at 13598 Highland Road. The approval is subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall adequately address the outstanding items noted in the Planning Department's memorandum dated June 20th, 2019, subject to an administrative review by the planning staff prior to the issuance of a land use permit. 2, the applicant complies with any requirements of the Department of Public Works Director, Township Engineering Consultant, Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority, and all other governmental agencies. Applicant shall continue to provide items as listed in the consent judgment as part of the current site plan application noted as site plan number 19-006.
Support?
Okay. So we have a motion to approve site plan application number 19-006 for Heartland Meadows Pavilion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Next up in our continuing series of varying conversations on the retail market analysis, we'll turn the floor over to Troy and explain what we're looking to accomplish tonight.
So, at our last meeting, we discussed the zoning map. In particular, I had done a, let me see if I can't find it here, a chart that was, this is a copy of it. And I modified it a little bit from the last time. This is a chart that I made of commercially zoned properties that are undeveloped. And it's listed here by kind of a portion of their tax parcel number and their approximate acres. And this was a chart that we kind of looked at our last meeting. And then we looked at the zoning map. And this is a zoning map of Heartland Township with 23 going through the middle and 59 through the center here. And what we did is we looked at this area up here on Clyde Road. The red would represent commercially zoned properties. We examined this area. This is largely undeveloped. There's one of these parcels is developed with a gas station, and a portion of another one of these properties has a septic receiving station on it, but the rest of this is largely undeveloped. And we examined that this could be an area that we could consider making some changes to the commercial zoning. And then we also examined this area here at the corner of 59 and Old 23 as not necessarily changing the zoning category of commercial, but possibly changing the future land use map designation and designating this as a special planning area so that the potential for maybe mixed-use developments could occur there that would involve a mix of residential and commercial. And those are some of the things we talked about the last time. As ultimately our goal is to create a recommendation to the township board as to what to do with this retail market analysis that we've been presented with. This particular time, what I've done is presented the future land use map to you. And again, red would be the commercial properties. And what I did is on the second page of this, I went through and identified which of these commercially designated properties on the future land use map are currently undeveloped. And it mirrors a lot of what we saw with the zoning at our last meeting. One of the changes might be that this area up here on Clyde is not in a commercial category. This is in a research and development park or a light industrial type category up here, with the exception of where the mobile gas station is. So the core areas that we're going to be looking at here for the future land use are the area by the Best Western Hotel. So I'll zoom in and just this a little bit further. So the Best Western Hotel would be this property right in here. And so the area to the north of that, and then this one parcel here to the south would be undeveloped and in a commercial designation on the future land use map. That would be these first two properties. And you've got about 20.5 acres there. The second area would be to the west of that, how do I get to move this? And that's this area over here, kind of on the edge of this. Here we go. Oops. I got it to go a little further than I wanted to. Almost this last red piece over here is undeveloped right now. And that piece is about 17.66 acres over there. The next two are the same that we had looked at for on the zoning, are these areas right here. There's about 70 acres there. And then lastly is this one just to the north of Rovey Road, this red area here, which is almost all wetland. This is Rovey, and then Clark would be right here, this red area. So those are there's basically 1, 2, 3, 4 general areas that would be undeveloped and designated as commercial on our future land use map. So one of those areas, Old 23 and south of M59 was an area that we talked about as when we examined the zoning. And so I guess I'll just leave it at that. If you've got questions or comments as to how you feel about those areas, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, my thoughts are the same as last week. This kind of parallels the zoning map conversation we had, you know, if, and the big question is if we're going to make any adjustments. To me, the most likely place to take a look at would be Clyde Road, keeping your commercial core together down at 59 and 23. For me, this doesn't, for me, it still comes back to the question, do you make a change? And if you're going to make a change, where is it? And so far, both lead me to the same conclusion as an individual with the Clyde Road property.
Okay.
So,
You can pull up any of these maps if you want. I've kind of flipped back and forth. I apologize for that. This is, what we're looking at here is the future land use map again, so.
Well, I was kind of thinking that the area south of M59 and west of Old US 23, I like the idea of considering that as a planned development where we have some opportunity to do a mixture there.
Yeah.
I personally looked at this and thought that we have an adequate amount of commercial retail. And if we were to propose changing that corner to a planned development, it doesn't negate or take away from the opportunity for the commercial to exist there as well. So I think there's some more flexibility, capability, if we were to entertain that type of an idea.
and I should have added, I support that. Because again, I don't think it, as Mike states, it doesn't change anything.
No.
It just makes those looking at the community and development aware that there is an opportunity here, given this trend in retail, to have a little bit more of the residential mixed with the commercial, that it would be an item open for discussion. It could still develop straight up commercial, and it could have not one residential unit in it. On the other hand, it opens up the eyes of those that are looking around and says, what's that red and white hashed piece there in the township? Oh, it's their special planning area. They have we have an opportunity to do something. So,
And I would agree with both of you there, on the same sense that that would give more flexibility and make that area more appealing.
And it's great to see that the future land use is already pointing, that we've talked about that being research and development, so that's another, closer step that we have towards agreeing to that.
Right, right.
Okay.
I don't know what else you were looking for on that one.
I think we've now looked at the zoning, we've looked at the future land use designations. We kind of talked, the last time we spent more time talking specifically about the properties, what was on there, and I don't want to rehash all that again, but I think at this point, we'll probably have this come back. Our goal is that the board would like a recommendation from us, and I think what we'll do is have this come back at another meeting and present kind of a recommendation along those lines of making changes to Clyde Road area and on the future land use for this area down here, that it be designated as a special planning area.
You were going to reach out to Bob Gibbs, maybe, just get his 2 cents on it, too?
Yep.
Could we have that, maybe, before
Yeah,
our next meeting?
I don't have any kind of an answer from him.
Yep, but that would be good, too, just to hear his 2 cents.
Yep.
Since he did that report for us, study.
Okay, so we'll see this up at a future meeting here, probably relatively soon.
Yeah.
Maybe July?
Yep, I would hope. And again, our retail, the updated one has this April 2019 10 on it. That's available if anybody's interested in looking at it. I'll be happy to get a copy or PDF version or to them, so.
Troy, on
Okay.
that note, has anyone summarized the differences or the updates that were made on that April 10th compared to the prior?
I don't know, he hasn't been able to come back to give a revised, and I've got some comments under my planner report on that a little bit, but he did not do a summary per se like that. He just published a new report and just wanted to examine the existing shopping centers and assuming they were all built out. And apparently, when I talked with him, he indicated that it can work in an odd way, that if everything were built out in that area, it can actually attract more commercial, and the numbers could actually go up from what he proposed. So he just wanted to make sure he was being fair in those estimates.
Okay. Anything else on this item?
That I.
Okay. We'll look forward to come back in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Next up, item 8, call to the public. Anyone? Sure.
Did I come here?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just introduce yourself and
Will do. My name's Misty Search, so thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I've spoken with a couple of you previously. I'm the Director of Real Estate for ABC Warehouse. I was the Director of Real Estate for Buffalo Wild Wings. I was the Director of Portfolio Management for more or less an asset manager for the largest regional developer of Walmart. I assisted in developing a 91-acre lifestyle center in Ohio. I'm a broker for the state of Michigan, and I also received special certification from the International Council of Shopping Centers. In addition, I'm a resident of Heartland. I'm a mom, and I don't like to cook, so I have a very vested interest in more restaurants and more retail coming to the city of Heartland, or coming to the township. I spent quite a bit of time studying the Gibbs report, and it's heavily focused on things the community would like, which is not realistic. Many challenges for retailers to consider Heartland. It's a tertiary market. There's a poor daytime population. There's a limited number of homes. It's a very challenging approval process for businesses to open in the township. I believe current leadership is struggling to understand the needs of the retailers. For a retailer to open a new location, they have to negotiate a lease with a landlord or a developer. They have to spend thousands of dollars in legal fees, sometimes commission fees, development fees. They have a cost to build, which could range anywhere from several thousand to several $1,000,000. They have royalties, advertising fees locally and to a franchisor if applicable, licensing fees, cost of employees, taxes, insurance. to then impose extensive building requirements such as stone and brick, berms to hide the businesses, excessive landscaping, restrictive sign covenants, sometimes not even allowing immediate approval for signs that already meet code, is painful. Every day that the retailer is struggling to get site plan approval, signage approval, landscaping approval, et cetera, is actually costing them income, delaying employment opportunities, tax revenue for the municipalities, and creating excessive frustration. Brokers are paid when deals are complete. The longer it takes to get a deal done, the longer for them to receive payment. They too are looking for a seamless and efficient transaction. What you need to understand is it's brokers that are bringing these businesses to the communities. These retailers from New York and from LA and from all over the United States aren't looking at a site plan and going, geez, that's a great community. They're reaching out to Midmark. They're reaching out to all the local developers and brokers in the communities and saying, what is a good opportunity for us? If that broker feels like it's going to be difficult or challenging, they're going to send them right up the street, guarantee it. We're seeing it right now. The report discusses 125,000 square feet of anchor tenants, 20,000 square feet of junior anchor, and 80,000 square feet in out parcels. We already have a Kroger and a Meijer. There are department stores all over the United States closing. There are 39 brands closing stores in 2019, including Dress Barn, CVS, Pier 1, Gap's, Macy's, Target, Kohl's, Walmart, JCPenney, Bed Bath & Beyond. Lowe's is closing 51 stores this year. Office Depot and Office Max are closing 300 stores over the next 3 years. Sears, we all know what's going on there. Things Remembered is closing 200 stores. Family Dollar is closing 390 stores. Gymboree is closing 800 stores, and Payless has closed 2,100 stores. Many of these retailers are currently in centers that were mentioned in the report. In addition, Pier 1 just announced today that they're going to close an additional 57 stores this year. Report cites that young families shop online weekly at Amazon and Target, and that they would like a Menards. We tried Menards. That didn't work. Still, 90% of business is generated by brick and mortar locations. Empty nesters would like a Cheesecake Factory. That's not going to happen here. There's not enough volume. We don't have a 12 Oaks Mall here. We're not going to draw a retailer or a restaurateur like that. Restaurant owners confirm this and state residents drive a long way to work and that there's no daytime population here. Township heads state that money isn't there to invest. I didn't understand that within the report. That didn't quite make sense to me. It also said that residents may not be able to support retail, but according to the report, the median household income is $88,000, almost $89,000, and the median age is 43. When I was with Buffalo Wild Wings, that was golden. We looked for those kind of opportunities. As a matter of fact, median household income here is a little bit too high for what we were looking for Buffalo Wild Wings. So there's definitely enough to support retail as far as income and just age demographics go. The chamber is worried about maintaining high standards to attract the right type of retailers. That's not necessary. New construction is nice, but retailers are much more worried about annual operating expenses than whether the building is brick. They're also worried about their co-tenancy. If you want to attract a younger demo, you need to watch what other successful cities are doing. Young customers want to shop in the store. According to a Walker Sands Future of Retail study, they like interaction and immediate gratification. They want to see, feel, and touch the items. They want mobile trends. They want brand loyalty programs. They want sustainable products. They do not care if the building is made out of brick and stone. Branding. Someone once mentioned to me that they didn't understand why branding was important. Just Google this. It's what makes a memorable impression on customers. It sets expectations, it creates a feeling of familiarity, and it cuts down on expenses. When these national retailers are looking at opening restaurants or any kind of a retail operation in a city, if they have a corporate guideline, they're buying the products, their signage, their finishes, their furniture from a national retailer that's giving them a significant break because they're buying it in bulk quantity. Making them step away from that standard for them not only creates a branding issue, but it creates another cost issue. This is part of the problem. With all due respect, one of the biggest stumbling blocks for development in the township has not so much to do with the PUDs, the zoning requirements, it has to do with the process. In summary, there are some uncontrollables, such as the daytime population, the number of households, et cetera, that cannot be changed. What can be done is making Heartland more business-friendly, not making retailers and businesses jump through countless hoops, attend many meetings, and go through vigorous approval processes to get their business open. I also believe that the voluminous ordinance needs to be reevaluated to find ways to protect the integrity of the community while promoting growth for businesses and retailers likewise. It will be much easier for the retailers to go 3 miles up the street and still attract our residents, as proven in this report, where all age groups reported shopping and dining in neighboring communities. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? All righty, we'll close call to the public. Troy, anything on any committee reports, I guess? Or we have planner report, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got some comments on planner report. One, I wanted to let you know that a land use permit was recently issued for Consumers Energy to use the property on Clyde Road. This would be west of 23. They're going to use this as a temporary storage facility. They're going to be installing about 14,000 lineal feet of gas main in Heartland Township. That is going to occur on Tipsico Lake Road going north of Clyde Road. So this site will have some of their equipment and materials there for a couple months. The second one, I wanted to let you know that I participated in interviewing, not interviewing, but yeah, I guess I was interviewing new planning commission members for Livingston County. They had an opening. Jim Sparks recently passed away, longtime member, so his slot became available, and I was asked to participate in the interviewing process for their new candidate. And then lastly, Gibbs Planning Group did mention that they can attend the Township Board meeting August 6th. So the Planning Commission is certainly invited. Anyone is invited to attend. That's where Gibbs will make his presentation on what changes or a summary of that. So I encourage all of you to make, and I'll follow up with another email to remind you, but August 6th is when he's available to meet. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Committee reports, comments, anyone? None. All right, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
From Mitchell and Murphy, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.